Welcome to the Kristi Jones Show, your go-to space for thriving in business and life. I'm Kristi, and after decades in the multifamily housing industry, a business owner, and now speaker and coach, I help ambitious professionals step into bold leadership, ditch the self-doubt, and have more of what they want, more success and more fulfillment. If you're ready to flourish and thrive, you are in the right place, my friend. Well, hey, my friend, welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast. We're in the middle of summer. I hope you're having a really good summer and having the success and also the fulfillment that you have been desiring to have this year. I hope you are just diving deep into that, and July is everything you'd hoped for. If not, you know what I'm going to say. There's plenty of time to course correct that. So you're in the right place. I really am excited to jump into today's topic because it's like I want to sit down and it's like you and I are going to sit here and just have a cup of coffee, or we went to go grab a quick lunch together. And I want to talk to you in that kind of way where it's like friend to friend, the things that I often get asked. And this is what I get asked is like, Kristi, how exactly did you get to where you're at right now? And people will ask that in a variety of ways, but they're curious, like, how did you create the life that you get to experience now, both personally, professionally? Because I often talk about success and fulfillment. That's such a big, I mean, that's my core message, is that you can have both of those and that you can build the life that you desire, regardless of where your starting off point is. Because if you know my backstory, it was a whole rebuild story. It was an entire rebuild story. So I want to talk to you today and I want to share with you some things when I look over the last 30 years of my life. There are some what I call quiet habits that have directly contributed to the life that I experience now. And I want to share those with you because when I was sitting and thinking about this episode, every single one of these, what I call quiet habits that I have been doing for a very long time, absolutely anybody can do these. Anybody can implement these into their life. So I want to jump into those. This isn't like an all-encompassing list. I've just kind of picked a few that I felt like would be the most helpful at this point in time. So that's what we're going to jump in today, and I'm really excited. So if you're, on a walk, if you're having that cup of coffee, whatever you're doing, you're in the car, maybe you're listening to this as you're, running errands or going to work. I know what I'm going to share with you today. It's going to land, and there's going to be one, two, or all of these that you are going to want to implement into your life if you have not done so already. So let's just jump right into it. When I was thinking about, okay, Kristi, how do you want to start this? What's the one that jumps off the page first when you think about the quiet habits over the last 30 years that have really directly affected where you are today, the life you're experiencing now? And that quiet habit has to do with decisions. It has to do with decisions. And I know if you follow me on social media or if you're on my email list, you hear me talk about this a lot. I am a broken record on this topic, but I make decisions before I feel ready. That has been a common thread in my life for at least 30 years, way more than 30 years, probably more like since I, was 18, let's say. So that's way more than 30 years. Making decisions before I felt ready. I think that is a key habit, one of those quiet habits that if you can get yourself to move in that direction to where you're making decisions more quickly, being able to have discernment to know which decisions actually are what I call impactful decisions and do require some pause and some insight. Maybe, that term, you got to sleep on it, maybe give it a few days and really put some more time and attention on that decision. Being able to understand because we got a million decisions we make in the course of a week, right? Maybe not a million, but there's a lot. Depending on how loaded your life is, you probably feel like there are a million decisions to make every week. I definitely can relate to that at different points and times in my life. So being able to determine which decisions actually are impactful, which one should I actually be, weighing in on, putting a little more thought into. Every single decision does not need to become a big mountain ordeal. So having that ability to know that I can make decisions quickly on the majority of the things that come before me. Knowing that, and here's why people don't make quick decisions. And I find this in my coaching a lot when I'm working with clients. They're scared of making the wrong decision. Well, how do I know it's the right decision? Well, you don't. You absolutely don't. Any decision I've ever made, you don't know for sure if it is the quote right decision. Is this decision going to make me money? Is this decision going to propel me forward? Is this decision going to get me the outcome that I'm looking for? Even in like the corporate structure, like if you're moving your team forward, you're making decisions for the team. There are no guarantees. If you've been in business long enough, you know that every single deal that you touch does not always turn to gold. You got the rough deals that you thought were going to, make the money, do the thing, make the turn quickly, and for whatever reason they don't. So you have to make some decisions on what you want to do, if you want to, sell that business, transfer that asset, whatever it is, right? So you have to know how to make decisions quickly and being able to determine what decisions need a little more time. Do I need to be more thoughtful? They're more impactful. So what are the impact decisions? And then what are all these other decisions that I just need to like decide what direction and go? My rule that I've always shared, that I've always done, is I've always known that I can course correct. When I've made decisions in life, in business, I've always known that if you have to monitor the results that you're getting from that decision. And if it's not giving you, you can see it's not going in the right direction. You have to be able, that's when quick decisions come into play. You have to know, is this maybe something I need to make a quick decision and it's not getting me the result, so I'm going to try something else. I'm going to make a different decision. When you make a decision, you're not always married to that decision forever. So I think that's where a lot of times people get hung up, is feeling like they're married to the decision forever. And in life and business, you're not. You can make those adjustments as you go. So a guaranteed failure, a guarantee that you're not going to hit the outcome that you're wanting, is to not make a decision, to stay in limbo. That, my friend, definitely is going to keep you where you're at. It is going to not move you any closer to what it is you're moving towards. So that ability to make decisions quickly is really key. Making decisions before you feel ready, that's been a big one for me. When I look over the last 30 years, 40 years, how many decisions that I actually made, and yeah, I mean, some of them are pretty ballsy, like making the decision, but you've got to have that self-belief. You've got to have that, like, this, you have to believe in what it is that you are doing. And you can't move forward with all this baggage and self-doubt. That's what I help people work through, by the way, in the Flourishing Edge, is overcoming self-doubt. High achievers who are trying to have more success, have more fulfillment in their life, create the life that they want, and they keep hitting the barriers. And self-doubt is a big part of that. So we've got to remove that. You've got to be able to make decisions before you feel ready. And for me, that's just been that's why I put it at the top of the list, because that's been one of the big ones. I would say that has helped me create the life and the experiences that I am able to enjoy today. Starting the businesses before I felt ready. starting, stepping out and doing coaching before I was ready. Transitioning from, running multifamily housing, property management company, overseeing day-to-day operations, doing all of that, and then moving into the online business space before I felt ready. Going into speaking as a public speaker, as a keynote speaker, transitioning more into that before all the pieces of the puzzle were together. I just believe that you can't sit around and wait to feel 100% ready. That is just a stall tactic. And I just think that it just is the mind games that we play in ourselves. It's that guarantee that we want. Well, nothing is guaranteed. I learned early, like nothing is guaranteed in life. Nothing. Nobody owes you anything, and nothing is guaranteed. So make a decision and start moving even before you feel 100% confident and 100% ready. When I started this podcast, that's a great story. I sat around and thought, well, I knew I was moving into the speaking direction. And it was also a way to serve my coaching community to launch a podcast. I didn't know anything about a podcast, and I'm in year 4. So I'm 4 years into doing this podcast. But of course, I read about it. What I say, research, like I went online, I figured out like what equipment I need to start. And like within 30 days, I started. Like I just ordered the mic, figured out the things. I already knew like what kind of content. I will say that first episode was really, I think I'll have to go back and look. It's probably the shortest episode of all of my episodes because I was nervous. I was not sure what I was doing. I felt good about the message that I was sharing, but all the moving parts of how to do this and what to do and how to record it. And I again reaching out, not feeling 100% ready. I brought in someone or outsourced for someone to edit and put it out onto the platforms. So I definitely started before I felt ready. And I thought that by that point, I'd already done that as far as beginning before I felt 100% ready. Like I've done that a million times over. So it was much, much easier by the time I got to the time in my life where I was launching the podcast. This was obviously much tougher when I was first starting out in life and in the big world. So, but it also is something that I just innately knew, like I don't want to sit around and wait until I 100% feel ready. And let me tell you, last little story on this. The one thing that I always thought of when I first started implementing this quiet habit of making decisions quickly and making decisions before you feel ready, taking action before you feel 100% confident. I will say that when I first started doing that as an adult in the workplace in my 20s, I thought back to when I was a basketball player and I had moved from Oklahoma to California, and Oklahoma played half court basketball. I've told this story on another podcast. It related to whatever I was sharing that day. But in Oklahoma at that time, it was women's basketball was half court. So it was, 3-3. So you were either a defender or you were on offense. And I was a defender. So I grew up at all the camps, all the coaching. I was taught and coached to be a defensive player. And probably because they probably asked me to shoot the ball and it was horrible. So, I mean, who knows? I don't even remember that part, but it was like, you're a defensive player. And I was a good defensive player. And so I would in Oklahoma, you would dribble that ball to the half court line and then you pass it over. Offense takes it, does their thing, you get the drift. If you're new, if you're not as old as me, then this probably sounds super foreign to you. Like, what? But that's the easiest way to explain it. So we moved to California and my parents did. And so it was women's basketball had already progressed to full court. So it was 5-on-5. I mean, it was like what we see today. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I've never shot a basketball. I had great ball handling skills. I was a great defensive player, but my confidence level when it came to, you know, having to shoot the ball, go down there, play offense, my confidence was so low. And so I sat out that first year. My dad was like, he was like, nope, you should go. You should go. You should try out for the team, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I chickened out. I was like, I can't do it. I tried something like my dad got me out, in the driveway, the cement driveway. We didn't have like the pole for the basketball goal, but he just nailed a basketball goal up against the house. And so, it was kind of like a carport situation. So he just nailed it up against the wall, and he would get me out there and we would do drills, and he would tell me, you need to do this, you need to do this. And I was just like, I was 15. I was like, I can't, I was just all the insecurities, confidence wasn't there. And I sat that year out. And now I wish I wouldn't have, but everything works out as it should. So I learned what I needed to learn. So that next year, I go play basketball. And so I played basketball full court, went for it. And what I remember sitting on the bench, waiting because I would have been a junior. So I was not a starter. And it was the first time in my life that I wasn't a starter. Like every other sport, every time I played something, I was always a starter. I was always like first string. But I earned my way there. And so, I was a newbie, and I was, tall. I was like forward. So I'm new to shooting the ball. And I remember sitting on the bench and not feeling ready and not 100% confident. But I remember waiting to hear my name called and sitting there. And when I heard coach say, Ernst, and he waved me down. And so I came to see him where he was sitting. When I heard my name called, and then he told me to go in, and he gave me a few words of just because it was before halftime. And I remember that there wasn't a lot of time before halftime, but he gave me some specific direction. But I remember when I heard my name called, like my stomach leaped. I thought I was going to throw up, honestly. And I thought, this is what, I've been waiting. I've been waiting to hear my name called. And I did not feel ready, and I didn't feel 100% confident, but it was my time. And so I made the decision. I went, he called my name. I go. I ended up playing more throughout that year, and had a great season. And I stepped off the bench when my name was called before I felt ready. And it did help. He had a ton of confidence in me. And he was so great at that. Like I bought off of his confidence at that point. And he was really a great coach for me. And that moment, it really taught me about stepping out before you feel ready. You don't have to feel 100% ready. You have to go take action. You have to make the decision, and you have to go do the thing. The outcome of that, it's going to be what it's going to be. You're going to put your best effort forward. And fortunately for me, it all worked out. I had success there. I earned my way to a spot. I earned my way to a starting spot. And, the rest was history. When I got into my adult years and I thought about like stepping out and doing something and making a decision or taking action before I felt ready, I thought back to that experience of my life and how I went for it. I stepped out. I had to move before I felt ready. I had to make the decision. I had to take the action before I felt 100% ready. And so that ingrained that. For me, I believe sports just teaches so many lessons to us. team sports teach so much to us. But that was something I pulled from, and I never forgot that. And I've really, especially in those early years, I took that with me. That was kind of like my story that I was like, okay, I remember back when I felt this way, and this is what I did, and this is how it worked out. So I copy and pasted, like I redid that on whatever the task at hand was. So that really ingrained in me to make decisions before you feel ready, to take action before you feel ready, and you don't sit around and wait until you feel 100% confident or 100% ready. You have to move. That's how you build the confidence. That's how you build your competence. You have to take action. You have to make decisions. You have to do it. Launching the podcast, that would be the most recent one that where I, wasn't 100% ready, and I did it. And I implemented, and I made the decision, and I did it, and I moved. I mean, you have to and you have to really grow that, what I call quiet habit, within yourself. It is an automatic thing with me at this point. It's more like on autopilot. And then the more you do it, it will become that for you as well. It will become that for you as well. The next thing I'm going to talk about on a quiet habit, so this will be the second one, is following through with things even when your motivation has dissipated. Your motivation has left the building, and you don't want to do the thing. You don't want to, um, you don't, whether that's a workout, whether that's a work project, whether that's a sales call you need to go on, whatever that is, you've lost the motivation. But I can tell you that the quiet habit that has given me so much is following through with things, even when I don't have the motivation. I have learned to almost detach from motivation. I'm not waiting for motivation. If it's there, great. It makes it a little bit, it makes it easier. It's like that little extra, little turbo boost, right? But I don't sit around and wait for it. It's about following through on what it is you need to do, or what you said you're going to do, is doing that. You don't wait for the motivation. Motivation is great, but as you know, you've probably been just like me. Like there's days that you're like, I don't feel that motivated. I really don't want to go to the gym. I'm not feeling like a superhero today. We're human. That's very normal. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to wake up and you're going to have days where you're not super motivated to go in and solve all these damn problems that are going to cross your desk that day, that are waiting for you. They are probably already made it to your phone, right? You're just not feeling it. It doesn't matter. You can't wait for the motivation. You have to follow through. You have to execute. You have to take care of business. So follow through with things even when you don't feel motivated. Do not sit around and wait for the motivation. I have a lot of examples on that, but everything from, a recent one again ties into the podcast. So I don't know if you remember, earlier this year, I was doing, for the last 3.5 years, it's been an episode every single week. And coming into this year, this is a year that we have a lot of things that we have chosen to do, meaning we are transitioning ourselves from Oklahoma to Florida. We will then become bi-coastal and live Florida and California. So there's things that we have to take care of in with our home in Oklahoma. And there was a lot of things with that. There was some things with business. We have several businesses that are making some adjustments. We're selling some assets, have some new things coming on board. So it was a really full, I would say, first and second quarter. And it still is. I thought it would be over, but it still is. With that and seeing that, as I came into the first of the year, I decided that I could either continue to do um, an episode every week, Or my other deal was, and that was really feeling heavy to me. It was really because there's a lot to doing this, and that was feeling like another layer of, of really heavy. And so initially I was like, I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to stop the podcast. I'm not going to do it anymore. And that was just a knee-jerk reaction. So the motivation to do the podcast earlier this year was not there. But I knew, because of the quiet habits that I have had over these last 30 plus years of my life, that it's important to follow through, even if that motivation has like taken a little rest. So what I did instead is I went to do an episode, 2 episodes a month, so every other week. And that gave my schedule some breathing room. That gave everything just more flexibility to where I could still continue with the podcast, still have the quality content to share with you, and also manage these other moving parts of our life and business. So that's what I did. I didn't wait for the motivation. I just made a decision, and I made a quick decision. And then I followed through, even though at that time the motivation had kind of fallen off the wayside. Now the motivation for the podcast is 100% back. And I'm super excited to be having this podcast show. And I'm already planning the episodes ahead in the coming months, but I'm still sticking to 2 episodes a month until we get through a couple more of these, I will say, really big high points in a few of our other businesses, and also with some things that I'm doing on the coaching side. So um, that really ties into paying attention, following through, and not waiting for motivation to always be there. So the podcast, that's actually a real recent experience that I could share with you as an example of how I used that. The next quiet habit, that I've got so many of these, by the way. I mean, I probably have like 15 of them on my list here, and I'm trying to like hand pick the ones that I want to, like, hey, we're going to meet for coffee, grab lunch really quick. And these are a few I want to share with you. Um, I want to talk about not letting your setbacks, that'll be the third one I'll share today, not let your setbacks become your identity. That is a quiet habit that you can develop. We all have setbacks in life. We all have and experience setbacks in business. Times when you go, this is not exactly how I saw this playing out. This was not the goal. That can be, maybe you have a marriage that has ended in divorce. I went through that. Maybe you have a business that isn't going as you thought it would, or it did great for a while, and now maybe you have other interests. You're wanting to maybe go in another direction. You're wanting to reinvent yourself, or you're wanting to grow the business. And what you're doing right now it's not lining up. It's not getting you there. There's a real big disconnect. We all have setbacks in life. And so, first and foremost, let's normalize that. Okay. So, quit freaking out that you've had a setback. It is part of life. It happens. Things don't always work out maybe how we envisioned. That doesn't mean that life is bad. That doesn't mean that it's going to mean whatever you decide to label it. That's really all I need to say on that. Whatever you decide your divorce means, that's what it means. That's why it's so important for you to understand the weight and the importance that your perspective has on absolutely everything. How you view it, how you package it up, that affects how you feel. So if you want to feel like it was a failure, then you have that right. You can feel that way. It's not going to be super helpful for you to continue forward and build the life that you desire if you're going to like be in that rinse and repeat cycle. of that thought and those feelings. So I would encourage you to not let a setback, to not let something like that become your identity. I know when people have really clung to an identity, when you ask them, maybe you're in conversation with them, and they'll say, "Well, I'm divorced." They start labeling themselves. Um, I'm divorced. I've heard all different kinds of things, but when you first meet people, if that's something that they lead with on how they describe themselves or introduce themselves in a conversation, that tells you a lot that they have clung to that as their identity. And I just don't find that a setback is not your identity. And you are much more than an event. A divorce is an event. Um, I mean, I speak from experience, so I'm not talking about something that I have not walked myself. It's an event, and how you choose to look at it and how you choose to identify yourself going through it and after it is up to you. So it does not have to become your identity. Um, Other things, we all have different things maybe that have taken place in our lives that maybe were traumatic to you. Are you going to cling to that identity? Is that how you're going to identify yourself? Or are you going to see yourself as a much bigger entity and that's just an episode. That is just like a chapter. That is just an event. It doesn't become your identity. It doesn't have to become who you are. So you get to control that and you get to determine that for yourself. Um, I did learn that, I would say mostly. The setback, that really taught me that would be going through my divorce and, a quick marriage, and having to go through that and what that felt like. And I felt like such a failure. And I come from a Catholic background. Um, Although my parents, they didn't take us, I did not grow up in the Catholic Church, but it was definitely shared in the home. And that was, as a teenager, that's the church that I gravitated to when I was around 14 or 15. And so, absolutely, I felt like divorce was a huge no-no. And so that was a big, big, big setback for me. I really struggled with that one. Had a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, all of the things. Uh, while also knowing it was the right decision. It was the decision that would be the safe decision, the healthy decision. But sometimes, even with those things, we make decisions that don't support the direction of what is healthy, what is best for you, what is best for your child. So I weighed in on that. I went with, even though my heart was breaking, I chose to make the decision, even though I had so many conflict things going on in my brain about it. Um, I moved forward with that and I looked at the long game of that it's it's going to be up to me to build the life that I desire, to give my child the opportunity to have a home that is full of love and support and security and not chaos and fear and craziness. So I made that decision, but I had to choose quickly because I didn't have time to waller. I had to survive. So I didn't have time to sit around and go, oh, woe is me. I'm a divorced young mom. No, I didn't have time for that. I just went to the next thing to take care of business, to pay the bills, to put food on the table, to move us forward, to to be what I needed to be in that time frame. I didn't have time to sit there and cry about it and feel bad about it. I just was like, I've got to take care of business. We're moving forward. there was a small window of time where it was like that label of that setback of being divorced. But I decided right then, that's when I learned that quiet habit, that this identity, this is not going to stick on me. This is not who I am. This is not a label I'm going to wear. And that there is, I didn't know at the time like what could be possible for my life in terms of rebuilding and having a marriage again, or I didn't know, and I didn't really want to, it was just like I was just surviving at that point. But I did believe that that I knew that I was in God's hands, and that He would guide me. And I didn't worry about the identity that I felt I got stuck with on that. So I shed that. I just shed it. So that's the quiet habit, is knowing that your setbacks don't become your identity. And I learned that through that experience. So I chose that not to be my identity. I chose the identity. That's when I actually made the leap to become who I am now. Then I was saying I had to create a vision, um, and I had to start showing up as that future version of me, which at the time seemed so far away. Like almost like I was in like La La Land, like this was even possible. But I knew I had to start showing up like her now. And I can't do that if I'm stuck to this old identity of this setback. I mean, I got to let it go. I got to let it go, and I got to move on without bitterness, without anger, without all the things. Because you can't drag all that with you. When you have a setback, if you, all the emotions, you've got to like feel them, get it, but you need to get through them, because you can't carry it forward into your next stage with all the baggage and feelings and all the things from the whatever the setback is that you're going through. You got to drop it, you got to let it go, and you got to start anew, because you can't take old into the new. So let go. Let it go. It is not your identity. The setback happened. It's there. It's overdone. Wash your hands. The milk is spilt. It's time to move on. So that does not need to be your new identity. I'm going to share one more with you while we're sitting here having this little chit chat, having some coffee, and having lunch today. I'm going to share with you my last one. Like I said, I had like 15 on here, and it's been really hard to pick which ones I wanted to share with you. But I'm going to share this one, because when I look at like everything in the last 30, 40 years, what is it? What is it? What is one of my quiet habits that have really contributed to the life I get to experience today? It is asking better questions. Asking better questions. And not thinking that I always have the answer, and being okay with that. It is knowing that you've got to set the ego to the side sometimes and say, I want to learn. I want to seek insight from someone that has more experience than me, maybe done this before, maybe sees it from a different perspective. And that need of like having to have it my way, or to that whole who wants to be right, who wants to be wrong, like I shed that a long time ago. I want to say, when it comes, and what example comes to mind on asking better questions, really that applies to absolutely any aspect of your life when you're trying to figure something out. A lot of times the answer is there. We have to ask better questions, more thoughtful questions. And we need to remain curious. Remain curious. I remember when I was in multifamily housing, just starting out in multifamily housing, and had gone from leasing agent to had gotten a promotion into management. And oh my gosh, talk about someone not feeling ready. I felt ready, but I didn't feel ready, if you know what I mean. Like you're ready and you're excited for the promotion, and then you start and you realize, oh my gosh, like I bitten off more than I can chew. You realize you don't know what you don't know sometimes until you get in that spot. And so I remember, just having in property management different day-to-day problems that would come up at apartment communities or with the staff or the people on my team. And, you get these things sometimes that you're like not sure how, like, what is the best course of action? How do I fix this? Haven't never, like, this is like a huge problem. Um, and what I learned quickly, and I did not resist this at all. And again, I've carried this habit through my life continually, but this is when I really leaned into this and I recognized that this is a habit that's important, is that I didn't sit around and be like, oh, I have to figure it all out. I'm not going to ask for help. I want to be perceived as this. I would, if I had a problem that I didn't know how to solve, I would come up with, and generally these are problems that have to like, these are like, we can't wait a week. Like this is today. Like we have to figure something out today. I would come, so, okay, I think seems like what I would do. And again, these are like things that would either I knew would be costing the company a lot of money, and these were bigger things, right? This is when you step into a new position and you get hit with the first big one and you're like, holy crap, like I hope that I work through this in the proper way. So I would gather my thoughts of what I felt like would be a good solution or how we would proceed. And I was quick to be transparent with things that were like really big that I knew my boss that she would want to know about. And I would pick up that phone and I would call her and ask if she had some time. And then I would tell her what just happened or what was going on, what I was thinking of doing to correct or move forward, and wanted to get her insight. Now, I worked with so many people that they were like, I'm not calling. I'm not calling. Like, I don't want to call. I don't want to ask. And I just was like, why not? Especially if you don't choose right, the outcome's gonna cost a lot of money, and I don't want to have that conversation, right? So I would rather, address it right here. And so I didn't let ego get in the way. I wasn't like, oh, I have to be right, or didn't want to look stupid. I always wanted to have a solution to propose, or maybe a couple that I was thinking of. But on these big problems, I did not hesitate to set my ego to the side and to pick up the phone and have a conversation with my boss and tell her kind of what was going on, what I was thinking. And she was either like, that sounds great, that's what I would do, or no, do this, or have you thought about this? Or she would ask more questions of things that only through experience of doing this a while that she had more foresight down the road of other things to consider. And she would bring those up. And then, so asking better questions. So I remember learning that then, that if I'm just going to sit around and think I have all the answers all the time, I just think I knew that was a dangerous road to go down. There's a time you do have to just step in and make a decision, like clearly. But there's also, I see so many times that people get themselves in these situations because their egos just are so large, and they want to be the man, they want to be the woman, they want to be the this, the that. And it doesn't work out good. It does not work out good. It is okay to ask good questions, to seek wisdom, to have a mentor. And to me, having a mentor or a coach, that falls in there. You have to identify some individuals that are doing something in their life that you're desiring, whether that's like a personal endeavor that you have, or whether that's in your business. Find those individuals, and then if it's like, a lot of times it's somebody maybe in your company, that's, been there longer, done, done your position already, or has more foresight. It could be that person. It could be someone totally out of your industry that is just, a person that has done some things that you are looking to do. You need to identify those people and then bring value to their world. Don't just be like, a time sucker. You want to find ways on how you can bring value to them so that if they are up for, sitting down once a month or touching base on the phone every so often, and a lot of people are very open to coaching and mentoring, and doing that for others. And if you can't do that, you need to hire a coach. You must look at that option as well. Asking better questions. That's what I learned through that experience and that time frame. And then that what became a quiet habit that absolutely has changed the trajectory of my life. Set the ego to the side, my friend. Okay. Don't feel embarrassed that there's something that you want to know that you don't know. Seek out the knowledge. Surround yourself with people that are the right people. Why are I talk about protecting your energy a lot. This is what I'm going to close on. I'm going to wrap on this. On protecting your energy and your circle. Why on earth are you choosing to spend time with individuals that are disturbing your positive, peaceful energy? You have to ask yourself that. Why are you allowing that in your day to day? Now, do we have to interact with individuals like that from time to time? Sure, we do. I mean, you need to become a self-regulated person. You need, if your nervous system is in check, you've got a good head on your shoulders, you're going to be able to interact with people like that from time to time. It shouldn't rock your world. You know how to create the boundaries. You know the things that they say and do are about them and not you. I mean, all of those things. But I'm talking about on the regular. On the regular, your circle of people that you interact with. You have to really audit that. Are you hanging out with people that are doing nothing with their life? That's great if you're wanting to do nothing. You want to do nothing, they want to do nothing, y'all need to hang out. It's like, that's great. That's going to work out really good. If you're wanting to build a life of excellence, if you're wanting to have more success and more fulfillment in your life, but you're surrounding yourself with people that are rolling their eyes at every single thing that you do, and every time you bring up one of your ideas and your dreams, or maybe something that you're doing and you're stepping out, and they're just mocking you, why are you hanging out with those individuals? Are you hanging out with gossipers? Is your circle of people that talk about other people? Why are they talking about other people? I'll tell you why they're talking about other people, because they don't want to talk about that. What do they have to talk about? What do they have to bring to the table? Do they have to talk about other people and tear them down so that they can feel better about themselves? Possibly. Is that what you want to be hanging out with? I mean, I made that decision a long time ago. I'm very selective about who I really let in that circle. And I think that's a good thing, because you can't have all that negativity and people that focus on problems and they focus on the problems on the world and they focus on, they want to, if they're so like tracking the news 24/7, it's good to know kind of what's going on in the world. But at the same time, our brains don't have to have the download 24/7. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of bad news, a lot of negativity. That's what the world and all of that stuff feeds on. So if you want to be part of that feeding frenzy, that's totally fine. That is totally your choice. But if you want to stay elevated and positive and not where you're complaining about your life all the time. You want to complain about your life, you can do that too. Hang out with other complainers. Listen to people tell you about their problems and the complaints, and I promise you, you will soon start to do the same thing. Hang around people that are talking about what they're excited about, what's positive in their life. Trust me, everybody's got crap. Everybody's got problems. So the people that are positive, they are not saying that they don't have problems, issues, things that they have to handle. They do. They just aren't focusing on it. It's just not the conversation topic. When you walk away from a conversation with someone and you feel drained, pay attention to that. When you walk away from a conversation with someone and you feel uplifted, you feel a little lighter, you feel a little excited, you kind of feed off of their enthusiasm a little bit, that's a good thing. So pay attention to your circle. Pay attention to who you're on the text stream. Like, you don't know. I mean, I've dropped out of so many group chats. I am not here for it. I don't care. I know. I just don't have the mental capacity. Like, I just don't care. I can't. I don't want to know about that person. I don't care. I don't want to know. It's none of my business. So I am notorious for dropping out of group feeds because it's just not my, I just don't need to know. Unless that person wants to come tell me themselves, I'll gladly have a conversation with them. But otherwise, no, not into the whole chit chat thing, not into the gossip thing, not into listening to people just complain about their lives. We all have tough days, that is true. But there's a difference between having a tough day and constantly being negative and spewing out about your problems and how hard this is and how hard that is. Listen, everybody's got hard. Everybody has their version of hard. Don't fool yourself. Everybody has their version of hard. Every single one of us. So you will have the life you choose to focus on. I say that over and over, and I firmly believe that. So on protecting your energy and looking and auditing your circle of people, of who you communicate with on a regular basis, what are they focusing on? Are they focusing on the problems? Or are they focusing on the solutions? Are they focusing on the possibilities? Are they focusing on what's next? Are they focusing on what lights them up? Or are they focusing on what drains them? Are they focusing on what isn't working? Are they focusing on who they're mad about? Those are all things for you to pay attention to as you create these quiet habits for yourself. All right, my friend, I can't promise that this will be the last time I talk about this. I kind of feel like I've got so many on my list of quiet habits that I have created for myself over the last 30 plus years that I know you can benefit from as well. There's probably going to be another chit chat about this because I've got a lot in my notes that I still didn't cover. But until then, my friend, go make the most of this month. I am so excited that we're in the month of July. So much possibility is lying ahead for you this month, for the rest of this year. And I hope you know that the possibilities are endless. We have so much time left in 2026. So I'm here. I'm in your corner. I am cheering for you. I am rooting for you. Get up, go make today the best day ever for yourself. And I will see you here next time. And we might continue this conversation. We'll see. We'll see. All right. I will see you soon, my friend. Take care. Friend, thanks for tuning into the podcast today. Take a moment and share this episode with that one or two people that you thought of as you were listening to today's episode. And I would love your quick review. It would mean the world to me for you to drop a review here on the podcast. And don't forget to follow and like the show so you never miss a beat on how to thrive in business and life.